It's Sha'Carri Richardson Day. August
It is.
21st, 2023 is officially Sha'Carri Day. And before we talk about the finish, let's talk about the beginning. Let's go to those
Okay.
prelims, the semifinals. Three heats. Shelly's in one heat. Julian Alfred's in another heat. They both get through. There was a little bit of a scare with Julian Alfred, potentially false start, but luckily that did not happen. But the big question was, what were we going to see in that second heat? You had Toulouse, Shericka Jackson, and Sha'Carri.
Yes.
And you knew one of those three had to get third.
Right.
And in this situation, it was Sha'Carri. And it was mainly due because her start was awful in that semifinal. It looked like she just stood up in the blocks. She gave everyone basically a 0.1 second lead through 15 meters. But because she had two of the fastest women in the world to chase, it was pretty obvious once she crossed the finish line and run 10.8 that she was going to be fine. They tried to make it dramatic, being like, ooh, she's going to get knocked out. It's like, there's no way the third and fourth place women in the third heat are going to run faster than 10.8. So I knew she was in, but it made you think, okay, what now? Where will Sha'Carri be in that final? Because Otto Bolden said you never see a small Q 100-meter runner go on to win the final. And Sha'Carri just pulled that off. What were your thoughts during that hour after watching the semifinal prior to the start of the 100?
Definitely when, I guess they call it the Q room, where Sha'Carri was just standing back there. You could just see her just calm. And I think she probably knew in the back of her mind that she was safe. And like you said, top two go, one person had to be out. Sha'Carri just did not set herself up to be up there in the front, getting those top two places. And I think during that hour, she's probably thinking, this is the moment I've been training for. This is her first, and it's crazy to think we've been hearing Sha'Carri Richardson's name for years now, but this is the
4
very
years.
first time that she has lined up at a world championship final. So Sha'Carri Richardson has been very vocal that she has had all the faith and the trust in her ability, and she definitely executed that in the final. So I think during that hour, she was just probably saying positive affirmations, getting in the zone, just going over her race pattern leading up to getting into the blocks. Her start was so much better than what it was in that semi round. She wasn't there in the beginning. It was pretty much Shelly-Ann, Fraser-Pryce, Shericka Jackson in the middle of the track, kind of separating themselves from the rest of the field. Julian Alfred, who actually I was quite surprised by her performance. I had her as someone that was medaling, and she gave us also another scare in that semifinal round. Did not react, but won her heat. I'm thinking we have seen Julian Alfred put all the starts together this whole entire season. So I was expecting her to medal. And all of a sudden, all the way on the outside lane, closest to us on the screen, here comes Sha'Carri Richardson, sneaks in there. And I think she was surprised too. To be quite honest with you, Gordon, I was quite surprised. As I did not see her come that 50, 60, 70 meters. She was not there yet. All of a sudden, she comes away with the gold doing Sha'Carri Richardson things.
I do think, though, it was a little bit of an optical illusion of her not being there because she was in lane 9 and the Jamaican 1-2 punch was in the center of the track. It was kind of visually hard in the beginning of that race to really understand where Sha'Carri was in relation to the people in lanes 4 and 5. And I think because she normally when you're in 100, you're next to your competition, you know if you won. There was no reason for her to know whether or not she won or not because she's kind of out in the middle of no woman's land. She's just by herself in lane 9. The runner in lane 8, I'm not sure who that was way back. So there's just so much for her to really truly understand if she had the win. And I think that might have helped her. I think it was like, I'm kind of running by myself. I'm not running up against the greatest of all time in Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. I'm not running up against two of the top all-time runners in Toulouse and Jackson. She kind of got to be in her own zone, and I think that allowed her to run her race, no distractions, and it wasn't like she ran a time where, she runs 10.7, but she got the win because it happened to be a slower field and the depth wasn't there. No, she went out and ran 10.6.
Yeah.
There's no asterisks to, it's just a weird race. Oh, and some people weren't in their prime. Yes, you could argue Shelly-Ann, not 100%, but does a 100% Shelly-Ann run faster than what Sha'Carri ran, 10.65? Even at this, no, like she wins this race regardless of situations, I think. 10.65 is going to win 99 out of 100 times, unless it's like the Olympics from 2 years ago. So I think she found a way to have a win, get your first gold, have the time, and have the victories over 4 all-time runners in Jackson, Fraser-Pryce, Toulouse, and Alfred. That's the trifecta there. Time, win, and head-to-head. Sha'Carri Richardson is the fastest woman in the world. Now,
she is.
It took her 4 years to get that crown. There was times when we thought we were going to get it in 2021. Then we're like, 2021 was weird because the whole stupid banning of the marijuana thing, which was all bullshit in the first place. 2022, you feel like you're going to get it. Then she has that bad USA's. But now, this is the Sha'Carri we thought we would have basically in 2020, post 2019 NCAAs, when she officially left LSU as a freshman. And it just took us 4 years. But now that we're here, she's going to be the top dog in 2024 at the Olympics. She's going to be the top dog in 2025. She'll still be in her 20s when you get to 27, 28. She's on top of the mountain. And it's going to take a lot to pull her down. And there are some people out there in different countries who thought it was all fool's gold, that she'll never get to the top of the mountain. It's all like, oh, you almost had it. You can be on your little molehill. But there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Sha'Carri Richardson is the fastest woman in the world. And we just saw why. We saw why 15 minutes ago.
Just incredible. And I have to agree with you on the statement you made, because I was actually about to ask you if you felt like her being in that outside lane, if that was more beneficial to her, knowing the 8 women to her left are the top runners in the whole entire world, but she has her own lane, no one else to her right, by herself, in no man's land. I think that worked in her favor. So I think her getting third and grabbing one of those outside lanes, I think it helped just mentally knowing there's no one else pressuring me.
Is she doing like Galaxy Brain 3D chess? Is like, I'm purposely going to get third in the semis so I could be in lane 9 in the final. That's how she's thinking so many steps ahead.
I know. It was just insane. And again, gave me a little scare. I was like, oh goodness, what is going on? But she did what she needed to do and got a little cue and ended up getting gold.
Yeah, and the Big Five, they finished 1 through 5. There was no breaking up of our Big Five. We thought that was a Big Five ever since Julian Alford came onto the scene indoor season all the way back in March. And that held form. And there was an argument for all 5 of those women to win, all 5 of those women to medal. 2 of them had to be on the outside. And they all had different reasons. I would say the most surprising woman that I think not medaling was Toulouse. I thought Toulouse showed consistency all season long. She was undefeated in the 100, and then she gets 4th in this final. You could argue Julian Alfred getting 5th makes a little sense because the collegiate season, a lot of racing. But Toulouse, I thought, was one of those, she's for sure going to at least finish 2nd or 3rd. So I was most surprised about Toulouse finishing 4th. And, at the end of the day, Shelly-Ann deserves always a standing O, getting another medal at her age in her shortened season. She's still running legit times. Shelly-Ann is still going to be a factor in 2024 if she decides to continue going on. I'm assuming she is. There's no reason not. You just got 3rd. If you can get a medal now, you can get a medal a year from now. But I think Shelly-Ann deserves a lot of credit for her shortened season, still being able to perform against the top women in the world. With all that being said, though, we got to give Sha'Carri Richardson her flowers. She deserves them all. She was shocked. And she didn't have the typical reaction that she has when she wins races. It was a very unorthodox Sha'Carri reaction. Did you feel that way?
I don't think she knew that she won it. I
But
really
even when
think
she knew
that.
when
Like,
she
I
won
think it
it,
took Yeah, but once I think it settled once I think it came up on the big screen, and the moment she was in it for a second, then she reacted. But typically, we're just used because think of all the races that Sha'Carri has been in, where we've seen Sha'Carri celebrations. It's like a clear, broad as daylight, Sha'Carri Richardson won that race. I can't say that for this final. It took a moment. It was almost like when I was watching it, like I said, I couldn't tell where Sha'Carri was until the finish line. I'm like, "Wait, did she actually win this? Did Sha'Carri actually win the gold in this event?" Because it looked like Shericka Jackson was just going to continue just bulldozing down that 100 meters. It took a second, and then all of a sudden it came up on the screen, and I think for Sha'Carri Richardson, that was a moment that she wanted to live in and be like, "Wow, I just did this." Then we saw the reaction. Because think about all the other races she's been in that we've seen her just go after it as a reaction.
yeah. I think though, I think Sha'Carri's one of the most confident women in the sport right now. And you see it by the way, like she believes in herself, and even when she has bad races, she's like always going to like, I'll get it next time. Like she doesn't really have a lot of doubt. But I would argue, even she would admit she's as confident, but she knew that like there was still an unknown if she could do this. She knew she
Mm,
could run fast times. She knew she could win USA's because she's done. She knew she could beat really good athletes because she's beaten Shericka Jackson at the Diamond League. But I don't know if she truly knew that this would happen because she was 0-0 in World Championship finals. She's never competed at it, so she kind of just didn't know. She thought she knew had the ability, but there's still an unknown. And I think that 20 seconds of her just sitting there, kind of a little bit in shock, be like, "Oh, I can do this." My confidence is affirming itself now. It's processing, it's going through the brain cells, it's coming out, and then boom, then she just screams it out loud and starts running around the track. And I thought it was kind of cool to see that happen in real time. Her like
mhm.
realizing those 4 years is kind of coming to a completion of like, okay,
Yeah.
it was always a question mark. And if she would have got second here, which would have been really good, but if she got second to a Jamaican, that question mark would have stayed. Even if she got
Mm,
silver, which you should respect. First time at Worlds, get silver. You should get, but for her, it was you're either getting gold or you're a failure because of the way her story has been told. And so for her to be able to be on the good side of that, be on the gold side of that, just allowed her to like let loose. And now people are saying in the chat, we're gonna see a lot of Sha'Carri for these next 5 to 7 years. I don't know if I will be willing to say that we're gonna see like a Usain Bolt, Shelly-Ann type dominance for 5 years. I still think there's going to be, because the women's 100 and 200 is so good. We're going to see, I don't think we're going to see perfection, but for sure, we're going to see a lot of medals. We're going to see a lot of gold flavored medals. And I'm excited for it because
yeah.
now her career basically has started. Her career just began
Mhm.
today. It
Yeah.
was a big,
And I
long
think
exposition.
she And I know she's been very vocal about the belief in herself and how she doesn't allow other factors to kind of play a role. And I think her getting this goal today on August 21st, 2023 in Budapest is like what you just said, the start of something fresh. She's evolved into this young talent. The future looks very bright for US as long as Sha'Carri Richardson is doing Sha'Carri Richardson things. And I think it's gonna be exciting to see what she does. Now, my next question is just kinda moving forward, world championships aren't over yet, so what do we do next?